Donald Trump is now a convicted sexual offender. That's what being held liable in civil court means. Pence trying to figure out how to defend Trump while not defending Trump. We have that and more. All right, let's put it up full mass. Former president of the United States of America, after just 3 hours of deliberations on Tuesday, a jury found former President Donald Trump liable, guilty for the sexual abuse and defamation of writer E. Jean Carroll, stemming from an incident in the Bergdorf Goodman dressing room. This was in the 1990s. The jury awarded her roughly $5 million. Let me tell you why that number is so high. There's a calculation of punitive and compensatory. Punitive is to punish the individual who has the adverse ruling. Trump responded within minutes in Trumpian fashion with an all caps message on Truth Social. He says, and I quote, "I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. This verdict is disgrace," he wrote. A continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. You gotta hand it to Trump. I mean, he is a showman to the end. Now, he has maintained he doesn't know this person, never met this person. Now remember, he lashed out at the judge as well. Judge did not make a ruling here, the jury did. Individuals who are selected to be designated fact finders. They look at evidence, they provide context, and they make a decision. That's what jurors do. It's part of our country. So Donald Trump says this was a witch hunt. Now remember, Trump was allowed to defend himself. He decided not to. Trump was told, come to court. He decided not to. His attorneys decided not to present witnesses whatsoever. Trump was found liable also for defaming. For defaming Carroll based on a Truth Social post in which he called Carroll's case a complete con job. This was in October. Trump had previously denied Carroll's claim that he sexually assaulted her in a dressing room decades ago, calling the allegations a hoax and a lie, saying she's not his type. Once again, classic Trumpian fashion. So in addition to the defamation, the jury also found that Trump did, in fact, sexually abuse Carroll, but that her side did not prove the rape charge. On Monday, Carroll's attorney, Roberta Kaplan, pushed back against the latter claim by playing a video. This was interesting, playing a video of Trump's deposition, wherein he mistakenly identified Carroll as his ex-wife, Marla Maples. "What did Mr. Trump do after I showed him that photograph?" Kaplan said to the jury. "He looked at it for a moment and then completely unprompted by me, he said, 'It's Marla.' She was exactly his type." So the point the attorney was making is that if the reason he did not commit this sexual assault is because the writer is not his type, well, he thought the writer was his wife, which we would assume you married someone who is your type, okay? Let me do this. I wanna go to the response. So Mike Pence was doing an interview that day. It happened on the day Mike Pence was doing the interview. So he had to answer the question. Here's how he fumbled through it.
Does that result change your view about whether or not he is fit to serve as president?
Well, I think that's a question for the American people, but I really can't comment on a judgment in a civil case. I have no knowledge of those matters, and I'm sure the president will defend himself in that matter. And but it strikes me that it's just one more instance where at a time when American families are struggling, when our economy is hurting, when the world seems to become a more dangerous place, almost every day that it's just one more story focusing on my former running mate that I know is a great fascination to members of the national media, but I just don't think it's where the American people are focused.
And of course, as you mentioned, you don't know the details of the case, but he was found liable by a jury of the people of sexual abuse. I mean, for you personally, do you feel comfortable with someone who was found liable in this case serving as president?
Well, I would tell you in my 4.5 years serving alongside the president, I never heard or witnessed behavior of that nature.
Whoa, former VP, you have never heard or witnessed behavior of that nature. I got something for you, sir. Here it is.
Yeah, that's it, with the gold. I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the.
Yeah, he told you what he does. You still voted for him. You still work for him. You still protected him. You said everyone else was wrong and he in fact was right. Mike Pence, the man tried to have you assassinated. Now you may not have a backbone for yourself or your family. You may not have a backbone for those who you claim to represent. The reality is, sir, you have absolutely no chance of defeating Donald Trump if you do decide to run for president, because all of you are afraid to even say you're running against Donald Trump or you disagree with Donald Trump. Trump is indicted in Manhattan, found guilty by a jury, a civil jury. He's going to be indicted in Fulton County for trying to manipulate state election rules. He's going to be indicted by a DC grand jury. He will likely be indicted by the state of New York. And you're telling me you have no words whatsoever. Sir, how can anyone believe that you would ever stand up for them in a private meeting when you can't stand up to the man that tried to have you killed? All right, Ben, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to go from this, but the one thing I really want to harp on is Mike Pence's like sort of implication that this wouldn't affect voters, because I think unfortunately Mike Pence is right that a lot of voters won't change their minds because of this. And the sad reality is that while right-wingers like to claim that they care about sexual assault happening in our society, the harsh reality is that they really only care about sexual assault as it comes to like using it as a political talking point, specifically directing accusations against marginalized people because they have a very specific belief about hierarchies in society and power and things like that. And so fundamentally, it all comes down to like this core white supremacist narrative that has been pervasive throughout the history of the United States, which is this idea of like specifically cishet white men as like the kings of their own castle in their suburban households, treating their wives and children as property. And so to them, sexual assault is more of a property crime than it is an actual crime against a human being. And so like fundamentally, that is why I think a lot of people on the political right aren't going to care about this, because they don't see anything wrong with what Donald Trump did. That's part of like their ideology. That is what they think that rich, white, privileged men are entitled to, right? While also at the same time trying to present themselves as these defenders, these saviors of specifically white women, right? Well, they spin these ridiculous, extremely racist narratives about marginalized people across the country in order to try and justify like funding the police state. And so fundamentally, you combine all of these things, and this is something that's very in line with how right-wingers think about the world. They think about it in these like weird power dynamic hierarchies through these white supremacist narratives. And so when they see Donald Trump doing something like this, they actually see this as like a power move. They think that this is a testament to like how powerful Donald Trump is as a person, and thus, worthy of like praise and adoration, as opposed to viewing Donald Trump as a monstrous person who will literally abuse positions of power in order to victimize people. It is simply the fact that fundamentally conservatives have no respect for women across the board. They only respect women to the extent that women are willing to basically act as property for individual privileged men.
You put that so well, and I would say there's a stat that backs you. 20% of conservatives who believe Trump should have been indicted by the Manhattan DA, said also, we're still voting for him to be president of the United States, which highlights the fact they don't care